matters handled by NCLT which can be taken up by fresher lawyers, and this is what I want to stress on or discuss. So amalgamations and mergers, like I said, it's procedure driven, and maybe you will find that more fresher lawyers will take up these matters. Okay, and the chances are this can happen with smaller companies. Okay, this can happen with startup kind of entities. Okay, so who are going for amalgamations and mergers? They have their own 2 3 small group companies which they want to merge and reduce the cost. Now they are looking to do the merger itself for the purposes of reducing the cost. Now, in order to do that, if they go and approach someone who's quite having a name for themselves and is senior, and it's going to cost them, so they will want to approach, they will want to go for someone whom they can afford for these kind of matters. Operation and mismanagement. Now, this may seem it these are not typically very easy matters. Okay, they involve disputes, they involve focus, they involve a study of precedents. These are not very easy matters. But what happens in this case is that it is typically either a family business dispute. You agree? How many of you have seen operation and mismanagement family business dispute or startup founder versus investor dispute? Usually, either one of this is the case where you are looking either there's a like the family members are alleging that someone who has a lot of control kind of oppress them or is mismanaging the business, or it is startup founder versus investors. Either one of that, these cases typically they fall into. Okay, so now if these are the people who are there, large matters like Tata versus Cyrus Mystery can arise. The rate at which investments are happening in startup like fintech and edtech. So we are going to see these cases happening. Okay, so we will see founders versus investor disputes, and we will see operation and mismanagement being them. So typically, when you look at fresher people, they are also advising fresh clients, which are like startups. Okay, small startups for their work and for their everything. And these founders would kind of have no idea that they could use this more forum, they could use this mechanism where they are dealing with cases with investors, where investors are kind of having their way with them. So this is one reference can be drawn to one case recently, and I'm not going to name the startup, but it was recently sold to another business, apparently because the investor influenced the board decisions and they declined other investment offers, and they insisted on selling it to a common investing entity only. So this company was in kind of a trouble because of COVID, and it started to lose money, and it was looking for an influx, it was looking for investment, and it was receiving very good investment offers. But there was an investor already in place with the company who was influencing the board decisions, so they kind of rejected all of those investment offers, and they had the company sold at a much lower valuation to another company in which that investor had a stake. Okay, now it's kind of surprising to read these kinds of things to come into place now. And you can be guiding founders like these, they may not even know that they can actually go for cases of operation and mismanagement like this. Okay, where they're holding high percentage of shares and they act more in their own favor rather than that of the company. The fundamental principle is that the board and the board has to act in the interest of the company. Now, if they are acting more in their own favor rather than that of the country, then a company, then that will amount or will fall into the case of mismanagement, right? So, but the people may not even know that they can use the forums like this. So, if someone who's a recent startup lawyer but advising startups on different kinds of matters for their own drafting and everything, can actually guide them and tell them that look, you can use this forum, right? IBC, like this is, people will think that, you have to go to the banks, lot of committee of creditors will appoint you, and then banks already have panel lawyers with them. So then, as freshers, it is very difficult for you to stand a chance. Okay, because like, it is a creditor driven and creditor initiated process. Okay, and that's why it largely goes to people who are like on the panel of banks and are looked at by the bankers themselves. And it's not just 7, 9, and 10 applications. Okay, there's a lot of other work that you can do. You can represent resolution professionals. If you look at the IBBI website, and I was going through that, there are so many things that are on the resolution professionals. A lot of like rules, ethics, and discipline related issues, and all of that have to be taken care of by resolution professionals. And there are cases against resolution professionals. Okay, and acts of the resolution professionals. So even resolution professionals will need lawyers to represent them. It's not like, they do not need or they don't care. Even resolution RPs will need lawyers to represent their cases, and these can be individuals who don't have really deep pockets. Okay, so they may prefer that, someone uh, who has an idea of how the things work. They may not be senior, but they know how things work. These are the kind of people who are given these cases. Okay, resolution professionals can take this. How many of you have seen cases against resolution professionals? Lot of cases against the resolution professionals, RPs. How many of you have seen this? Cases against RPs, cases against resolution professionals. You can work in this domain. Okay, there will be a whole swarm of people who may want to go for 7, 9, and 10 applications. You can think of how you can represent resolution professionals. Okay. You can help in drafting resolution plans. Okay, now many, the buyer entities or resolution applicants will tend to be people who have money, but like you can play a role here. You can see, usually they get these things, or usually this turns out to be something like their management and financial people who will be more involved in this aspect. But you can, as a lawyer, you can specialize and you can focus that how to draft resolution plans. Okay, really well. You can work or you can take up this work. This is not representative work, but yet still, if someone specializes in this, okay, this can be an area where which can work for someone who's fresh. Help startup founders negotiate a restructuring. Like, it is known when a case comes to insolvency, there has been a prior lot of things that have been discussed or have gone in between the creditor and the borrower already. Okay, so it's not like suddenly one fine day the creditor wakes up and decides to launch an insolvency proceeding. Okay, there has been a borrowing, there's a track record, then again, maybe the company ran into some kind of difficulty and now they are not able to repay and there are defaults starting to happen. All that build up is happening before, an application of insolvency is launched. So, right at that point itself, if you are advising borrower entities, then you can help to negotiate a restructuring with the banks. You can present their plans before the banks to say that, look, the company has a genuinely good idea, the company has a capability of growth. It is only because of certain circumstances, and there are, because of the COVID, there are many entities like this. Okay, they are capable to get back on track, but for that initial period they have been in such a bad shape that, like, they are not able to repay their loans. Okay, so helping startup founders negotiate a restructuring, this can be possible before, even before something gets initiated on the insolvency front. Okay, you can look and you can try to restructure, negotiate a deal with the bankers or the creditors that, this is a proposal and this is how we are looking to take it forward. Okay, you can act on behalf of the startup founders. Okay, how many of you believe these areas make sense for people? Okay, right sense, if you believe this makes sense, if these segments make sense, not just 7, 9, and 10 applications. Okay, right? So you can go into these areas. You can represent promoters as personal characters. This is also another thing that is happening. Okay, I have seen that creditors who are uh, may not necessarily banks. Rakhi will deal with these questions just like after when we are towards the end of the webinar. So if you many creditors okay are in this zone that look, I have the option of going against the company, or the promoters have given a personal guarantee. I have an option of going against these people. Okay, because personal guarantor provisions are already notified in the individual insolvency. That's there and that is available. So banks will think that if you go against the company, it's the company, like it's an external entity, a juristic person who doesn't have a physical existence, who will not be so much of harassed. But if you go against a personal guarantor, it is like actually pointing out a finger or actually initiating something against an individual. So people kind of like even go for this as a threat that we will launch insolvency proceedings against you as personal guarantors rather than the company, and then like you will be and your person will be dragged to the court. Okay, so these kind of situations can happen. So you can look at representing them, or you can look at replying to such kind of threats or notices that are received on behalf of like the promoters. This can happen. Okay, and it is not companies which have malified intentions of not paying the loans. It is companies which are facing genuine difficulties. Okay. Just completed 3-year LLB. Can I practice in NCLT? Retired professional MTech MBA. We'll deal with the questions. We'll deal with the questions. Okay. Let's look at like the other areas.